Hello, and welcome to the NISD EdChat Podcast, your regular look into some of the innovative projects going on within the district and the educators who make them possible. I'm your host, Matt Freimeyer, and today we'll be talking about supporting teachers the first 5 years and beyond. An oft-cited statistic theorizes that approximately 50% of teachers leave the profession within their first 5 years. Subsequent studies tend to contradict that percentage and are less pessimistic. Yet the fact remains that a certain number of educators have a tendency to burn out within the formative years of their profession. What, if anything, is there to be done about that level of attrition? Our guest today is Dr. Janis Jordan, Deputy Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction here at Northside ISD, and we'll be discussing teacher sustainability and support. Thanks for being with us today, Dr. Jordan.
Thank you, Matt. I'm glad to be here.
My first question is about those first 5 years. Like I said before, there's some debate over the specific percentage of teachers that quit during that time. But regardless, it's not an insignificant amount. Why do you think that is?
You know, that's such a great question. I think teachers go into teaching because of their love of kids and their desire to contribute, to make an impact. And I think that teaching today is as rewarding, but also much more complex, given many of the external requirements that teachers have to balance. I think that as teachers enter the profession, many are starting their families. Perhaps they're also engaging in some additional education. And so I think there's a lot for teachers to juggle. And without a really strong support system, a culture within their collaborative team and at their campus, I think it can become very stressful for them.
My next question is in regards to teacher support. A study by the National Center for Education found that 92% of educators with first-year mentors remained in teaching, whereas that number dropped when they didn't have one. Can you tell me about some of the things Northside does to provide support for teachers in and out of the classroom?
Absolutely. Northside ISD recognizes that we're in the people business. Obviously, we focus relentlessly on the needs of our students, and we're really working to continually to provide quality support for our classroom teachers. For teachers who are new to Northside, we have a new teacher academy, which each year becomes more robust, and the feedback that we get from teachers is very, very positive in how it supports them, lets them know what they're going to be facing in the classroom, gives them some much needed tools. Then as the year progresses, we have a variety of professional learning opportunities. Teachers receive mentors, and you had mentioned that in your statistic, and we're firm believers that we're a community. We need to build a community. So district-wide, we have really been emphasizing the idea and the implementation of professional learning communities where every single teacher is part of a collaborative team that not only discusses together and plans together and looks at student work together, but they become each other's support system. So we are venturing out in the area of social and emotional learning. And of course, where the major lens is looking at how that impacts our children in classrooms. But we know the first place to start is with the adults. So just like we know our children are whole children, our teachers are whole people. So not only do we want to continue the quality programs we have, but we want to find other ways that we can wrap our arms around teachers so they feel supported.
And that's kind of what social emotional learning is about, is teaching to the whole student, but also supporting the whole teacher. Can you
Absolutely.
speak?
Yes. You know, it's funny. This is my 29th year in education. And so folks who have some history behind them career-wise can look back at different times where data-driven decision making, which of course is still very important, but that was paramount. Kind of the no excuses mentality, kind of the more academics, the better. And I think what we've learned and what we're seeing, I think we're at a really great time actually, where there really is no separation between who we are in our private lives, who we are at work. We are whole people made up of the joys, the fears, the anxieties, the talents, all the things that we bring with us. So as we're talking about social and emotional learning, it's really giving us the opportunity to bring to light and have conversations around things that we assumed were healthy. For example, we know that the level of a person's competence has more impact on their success than perhaps their actual aptitude. Now, that sounds like, maybe some gobbledygook, but if you really think about it, someone's belief that it's actually possible to succeed has more of an impact on their ability to succeed than just raw talent. That's huge. And what that says is it's worthwhile to talk about, how do you feel? In what ways are you comfortable? In what ways are you not comfortable? What do you do if you don't get something right away? What makes you frustrated? Can you tell when those things are coming? What are actions you could be doing differently? So I think one of the biggest things that you really are embracing social emotional learning is it's going to take all of the amazing things our fabulous counselors have been doing for years, and it's bringing it mainstream. That it's not just a counseling lesson, when the counselor gets to a classroom, once or twice a grading period. Instead, it's integrated with the academic success.
You had mentioned community earlier. Let's talk about building a supportive campus culture. Be it administrators supporting their teachers or teachers supporting each other. How can we continue to create a more healthy community around the district?
I think one of the first things is people have to be willing to be vulnerable. I do think it's critical that the district community, and just like a campus community, you have to unite under a shared vision. I think you can have a lot of really great people doing great things, but if they're each going in different directions, they may be working really hard, but it's really not creating a community, and it's not moving you closer to where you all agree you need to be. So I think it starts with really making it clear, coming to consensus, what are our top 3 priorities, that no matter where we are, no matter what role we play, that yes, those are all of our priorities in the district. I think when that's established, that gives people a common language, no matter if they're high school, middle school, support staff, administrator, it doesn't matter, because they can look through the lens of their position or the role that they play to this thing that is bigger than they are.
And I think you could also say it's about building trust, like trust between administrators and teachers, to where you're on the same page, you're going the same direction. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's one of those things that, you hear about, which is critically important. I spoke to it earlier, someone's self-confidence, building of trust. I think sometimes time is spent with activities trying to do those things, when I think sometimes you can build trust through doing the work. And so if you can come to consensus on what's most important and then work together and be very candid and authentic. Hey, I feel like this is what we should be doing, but I'm not quite sure how to do it. Can you help me? Or can you point me to one direction? I think there's no better way to build trust than to be vulnerable and to say, I'm not sure how to do that. Or, hey, I've done that before. Can I give you a hand? And having accountability, built in to where we're heading this direction. But if we kind of get off track, how are we going to bring people back because they're an integral part of the team?
Finally, our Northside ISD mission statement is every day, every student grows in confidence, curiosity, and capability. How do you think this mission aligns to our district's commitment to teachers?
To me, when we talk about our learners, our students, we're all learners, but specifically our students, anything that we say we want for our students and anything we commit to providing them or to the environment that we want to create so they can become who they're have the potential to be also applies to our classroom teachers. Anyone who knows me, I'm a broken record. The single greatest factor that impacts student learning is in a school setting is teacher quality. The second is principal quality. The research is clear. And so anything we commit for our students, we must create conditions so our teachers have that same support so that they're able to then emulate for their students. So when we talk about growing in confidence, it's there's no mistake that the first starts with confidence. I'd mentioned before, through John Hattie's work. Believing something is possible and having hope is essential. And again, part of his research showed it. They called it teacher efficacy, a teacher believing that he or she has the possibility to positively impact students. The second, curiosity. We really have embraced the notion of continuous improvement, that we want to be better tomorrow than we are today. And so sometimes when we set set the vision, and again, vision is very aspirational, that looks so far away, and it really kind of is. So how do we take steps toward that vision every day? And sometimes you're going to take a side step and sometimes you're going to take a back step. But if you have that vision clear, you will continue moving forward. So the word curiosity was used is because we want teachers and really adults to continuously improve and to continuously invent and to continuously question and to continuously say, you know what? I'm going to try this. Well, what if? What if? And so we want that for our students, and we want that for our teachers. And the last, again, is capability. We talk often about teaching being an art and being a science. And so curiosity, that's a lot of the art. And there is a science to it. There's a lot to learn about how students from various backgrounds learn. There's a lot to learn about how students with various abilities learn. And so we want to provide growth experiences so that each day their capabilities are increasing.
And that kind of ties back into the social emotional learning.
Absolutely. Yes, it does. Because, when you think about a model where professionals are put through, okay, we're going to teach you this, now go back and do that. We're going to teach you this, now go back and do that. Well, that can help people maybe learn a new skill set or, and maybe they can kind of connect that to something meaningful for their students. We want much more than that. We want to know how teachers are feeling. We want to know what their thoughts are. If there's something new that we say, okay, here's a new way to approach the teaching of comprehension. We want teachers to talk about and bring back to us, well, let me tell you about my students. Well, let me tell you about their stories in my classroom. And then the conversation we want to have is, well, so how do you need to differentiate this learning for your particular students, for your particular backgrounds? And what questions do you have for us? What are we missing here that we're not thinking about that because you're closest to the work? Just as we're talking students and teachers, we've said before, we're whole people, all of us are. And I firmly believe the more, I've used the word, I think, authenticity a couple of times, but I'm a firm believer if people will be authentic and be willing to say, what they don't know, and be authentic about what makes them nervous and how they move beyond that. And this was a challenge, and this is how I began to be successful. I think that will help so many, especially our up-and-coming professionals, that will help so many see that it's okay to not have all the answers. That's why you want a community of learners that are all focused on the same vision.
I mean, it's a process. I mean, it is exactly that. It's a process. It's something that never really ends.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those things that if you think of continuous improvement, it doesn't ever end, because as soon it's I think our children don't have an ending point. There's not okay, once you get that, you're done. And nor do our teachers. And so I think one of the challenges is, when we talk about teacher stress, is harnessing that, because you can get to a point where it's so overwhelming. And so that's where I think, though, where conversation and collaboration and having a real trusted colleague in a supportive environment.
Definitely. All right. I think that is going to do it for us. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so
Dr. Jordan.
much. This was my first podcast ever, and I just have to tell you, you're a master.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
What do you think about teacher support at Northside? We'll be having a follow-up EdChat with educators and administrators around the district on February 19th, 2020. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at NISD EdChat or using hashtag NISD EdChat for more information. That's going to do it for this episode. Be sure to subscribe to us here on YouTube for more updates and more episodes. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.